In the diplomatic heart of Geneva, the United Nations continues to serve as a global platform for addressing the world's most pressing conflicts. Today, attention centers on a highly charged dispute involving Israel and Gaza. Israel's permanent representative to the United Nations in Geneva, Daniel Meron, has publicly rejected a recent report by the Independent International Commission of Inquiry, or COI, that accuses Israel of genocide against Palestinians in Gaza. This report, spanning over 70 pages, has provoked fierce reactions. Daniel Meron, speaking to the press, dismissed it outright as a libelous rant. His words underline the deep divisions that exist over how the conflict is portrayed internationally. According to Meron, the report strays far from the Commission's original mandate, instead advancing a malicious narrative that unfairly maligns Israel. Meron's central criticism is that the report systematically ignores the atrocities committed by Hamas, the militant group controlling Gaza. He argues that the COI's findings seem to serve Hamas and its supporters by seeking to delegitimize and demonize the state of Israel. For Israel's envoy, this is more than just a political dispute. It's a battle for narrative control that could shape international opinion and future policy decisions. Despite the harsh accusations leveled against Israel, Meron affirms Israel's commitment to international law. He insists that Israel's military operations aim to dismantle Hamas, the organization Israel regards as a terrorist entity responsible for countless attacks. At the same time, Israel says it takes great pains to minimize harm to Gaza's civilian population and facilitates humanitarian efforts amid the ongoing conflict. The conflict itself is one of the most complex and volatile in recent history. Meron acknowledges the brutal realities of war, emphasizing that the current conflict was forced upon Israel. The violence did not come unprovoked. However, when it comes to casualty figures and data emerging from Gaza, Meron expresses strong skepticism. He notes that much of the information comes from Hamas-controlled institutions, such as the Ministry of Information or Ministry of Health, entities he considers unreliable and propagandistic. While acknowledging the tragic loss of life, Meron stresses Israel's efforts to minimize civilian casualties amid a war where civilians are often caught in the crossfire. The question of casualty numbers is highly contentious, with various international observers and organizations presenting differing accounts. This dispute over facts and figures further complicates efforts to achieve an accurate and impartial understanding of the situation on the ground. The COI report's use of the term genocide has added fuel to the fire, drawing international condemnation from Israel and sparking debates in diplomatic corridors around the world. The legal definitions of genocide are complex and debated, especially in the context of ongoing conflict. The report accuses Israeli officials, including Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, of incitement and policies aimed at destroying the Palestinians in Gaza. For Israel, these accusations are not only legally unfounded, but dangerously inflammatory. Opponents of Israel's position argue that the military operations in Gaza have caused widespread suffering and civilian casualties, disproportionately affecting Palestinians. They call for urgent international humanitarian intervention and accountability. Meanwhile, Israel and its supporters emphasize the threat posed by Hamas, highlighting the group's use of civilian infrastructure for military purposes and rocket attacks targeting Israeli civilians. This polarized atmosphere underscores the challenges faced by the United Nations and international bodies in navigating complex conflicts. Balancing justice, humanitarian concerns, and the realities of asymmetric warfare remains a formidable task. As these debates unfold, the narratives constructed by all parties influence global public opinion and policy decisions. Israel's permanent mission in Geneva, led by Daniel Meron, remains steadfast in its rejection of the COI's findings. This stance reflects the broader tensions that complicate diplomatic efforts to resolve the conflict peacefully and bring relief to civilians suffering in Gaza. As the international community watches closely, the need for credible evidence, transparency, and accountability becomes more pressing than ever. Without these, progress toward peace and justice remains elusive. In this highly charged environment, media coverage and diplomatic discourse continue to shape the global response, Understanding the nuances behind statements like Meron's is essential to grasping the full picture. Behind every statistic, every soundbite, there are real human lives affected by the conflict. The hope remains that through dialogue, humanitarian aid, and responsible reporting, the cycle of violence can be broken. For now, the UN remains a critical stage where these conflicting narratives collide and where the fate of the region and many innocent civilians hangs in the balance.
Is a diplomatic solution to ending the war in Gaza?
Individuals and bombed housings. Just to understand your position, the report says over 80.
Israel categorically rejects the libelous rant published today by this Commission of Inquiry. It spreads the malicious genocide narrative. The report diverges from the mandate of the Commission, yet again stressing their biased analysis. It has systematically dismissed Hamas's atrocities. Throughout the 72 pages of this paper that the COI presented, the COI promotes a narrative serving Hamas and its supporters in attempting to delegitimize and demonize the State of Israel. Israel remains committed to international law and, as stated many times, aims to dismantle Hamas and invest many efforts and resources in minimizing harm to the civilian population, as well as in allowing and facilitating many humanitarian efforts. I will say that war is not a nice scene, but this war was forced on Israel. Regarding the data coming out of Gaza, it is coming out of the Hamas Ministry of Information or Ministry of Health, and this is a Hamas organ, and I do not believe the figures. And yes, there are casualties in this war. We're trying to minimize those casualties. A lot of the information coming out of Gaza is fake.